Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, LinkedIn Live. Good morning, Alex. How are you doing?
Morning. I'm very well, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's Friday. It's Friday. If you are watching us live, please do say good morning in the comments because we love to see who's on. I know some people sometimes are walking the dog or just maybe having that morning brew of coffee. We were just talking about coffee before we started. Whether you have like a blow your head off coffee like Alex,
Me.
or whether you're more like a lemon juice in water like me, or a decaf, right? But yeah, if you are watching live, say good morning to us. If you're watching us on the replay, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. So Alex, we were just commenting before we went live. It feels busy, right? It's been a busy old time, and I don't know whether it's because people are thinking about starting to wind down for Christmas or wind up for Black Friday or what, but it feels quite busy, right?
It is busy. It's conference season. Oh, I don't know. But it's conference season. There's a lot
Yes.
of traveling involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've just been traveling for a big gig in the middle of England. So
Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of potential burnout
Yeah.
on the card.
Absolutely. So this conversation, and as you're saying, one of the things we'll cover is why art, right? So
Mm.
there's something about art and how does that connect with burnout and well-being and stress and mental health and play and passion and all of those sorts of things. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. So first of all, for those that don't know, if you're not connected to Alex on LinkedIn, Alex McEwan is founder of Albatross Arts, and you are actually a professional artist, Alex, right?
I am by training. I am. I've meandered away from it, but my roots
Yeah.
are in my roots are in the creative arts, and actually started in the fine arts and then moved into the creative arts. So yeah, that's my
Amazing.
background. I studied painting and drawing in Edinburgh many
Yeah.
moons ago. Um,
Yeah.
now the challenge, Cheryl, is to try and harbor that own creativity for myself and not just
Yeah.
preach, it's good for you, but you do it myself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to say, actually, do you have time to draw? Like, do you still have time to draw,
Not as
pieces?
much as I'd like. Not
Yeah.
as much as I'd like is my answer. I am trying to be better at practicing what I preach.
Yeah.
Um, and it is so good for it's how I process the world. So
Right.
I do it, but it's much smaller scale. It's not the big enormous things that used to hang in like bank foyers and things like that.
Yeah.
It's like much
I,
smaller these days.
I I'm convinced that the next time we speak, we'll be talking about portrait artist of the year. Maybe you'll be on it. Maybe that should be my aim to see if I can get Alex to apply for portrait
Convert me.
artist. Good, good morning, Shaista. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Shaista. I'm in Edinburgh at the moment. It's gorgeous. Okay, the beautiful city of Edinburgh. I'm wondering whether Edinburgh's grey. Is it grey, Shaista? Just let me know. I've been up to Edinburgh a few times. I used to do a bit of work up there, and it's beautiful city, but it always seemed very grey, even even in the summer. Sorry, am I doing Edinburgh a disservice? Shaista, let me
Edinburgh,
know.
beautiful, beautiful.
It is
I'm a bit jealous actually. We're on the
beautiful
west
part of the
coast
world.
today, and it's a little bit overcast, but
Yeah, and you're in Glasgow, right, Alex?
actually I'm on the coast just outside Glasgow. I'm not far from
Okay,
Loch Lomond, so I'm very lucky.
not far from Loch Lomond. So we're kind of like south to north. Not that I'm sort of like in the Midlands. Okay, so we're going to get into art, and some people might be wondering, why art, and obviously you work with organisations, and I had the pleasure of seeing you in action. Apparently, it's sunny in Edinburgh. It's sunny in Edinburgh, right? It's grey in the Midlands. It's sunny in Edinburgh. Thank you very much, Shaista. So I had the pleasure of seeing you, at the summit for ERG leaders, employee network leaders, and we'll get on to that. But just tell me about what it is that you do within Albatross Arts and how you came to create that organization.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I spent 25 years across the creative industries being sort of airdropped in to deal with projects and with big organizations like, museums and national institutions and things like that, and companies as
Right.
well, and charities. And it was wonderful, but the impact wasn't necessarily always gathered the right way. And so I found that incredibly frustrating.
Mhm.
So, oh, thank you, Andrea. That's lovely.
That's such a lovely comment, Andrea. Yeah, these Alex's session at the ERG Summit in Ham, we are going to get into that because it was pretty special, and hopefully we'll get Alex back for next year as well.
Yay. So, yeah, so basically, it was born, Albatross Arts was born out of frustration. As many social enterprises, we started, obviously you found a social enterprise at the beginning of the pandemic, right? That's a very sensible thing to do. But we could see there was already a need and there was only going to get worse. So it was Albatross Arts has been a passion project of mine. It's been something that's been sitting at the back there for all this time of the freelance years.
Mm.
And it stands for, the albatross is about, an albatross is also born out of a creative background. So it's a quote from an ancient mariner. And an albatross is a metaphor for something that holds you back, right? It's a burden, it's a weight you carry around.
Right.
Okay, and it stops you showing up as your best self. So we like to see that an albatross is an opportunity to turn that round. Okay, so whatever that burden is, let's work through it through the creative arts and turn it around and make it into a positive. So we're all about inspiring people. We're all about people, basically. We're all about inspiring people to feel more empowered, so they can show up and they can thrive, basically.
Right.
We started in the very much in the third sector, doing an awful lot of grassroots projects, and we realized that the merit there within that sector was very easily translated into the corporate sector. So we are now in both sectors. We're also in the public sector. So we have this very broad range of working with lots of different people, and it's interesting.
Because essentially, your work, the way that I would describe it, and you can just, I'll let you describe what it is that you do, but I guess your work really is about tapping into a part of humans that is like goes back to whenever, right? When you think back, I think back to like the cave drawings and all of that. Humans have always communicated and expressed themselves through, writing things down, writing or painting or drawing, right? So hence I can imagine why you literally do work with organizations across all sectors, because what you do it's just universal, right?
It is. Oh, nail on the head. Absolute nail on the head. It's a shame we only have half an hour or something, because I could talk about it. I'll try and be succinct. Brevity is not my forte, but the arts is the perfect platform, because the arts, as all my training and everything else and years of doing it, really you can boil it down to, it's about being human. Okay, it's about how we experience this thing called being a human, right? And how we connect with each other or don't. It's the connection or the disconnect, and and that's so exciting, because it's how when we make stuff, when we create stuff, we figure stuff out. We're literally making movement, right? And it's that sort of, you're right, the I was ear. It was the caveman with ox blood on the wall, or it's Banks with a spray can on the wall. It was I was ear. And that it's really interesting, because when you're working with organizations, it's all the aspirational hope, it's all the social political things that go on, it's how we process, and I suppose it's how we define ourselves as individuals as well. Because I got up this morning and I went, I'm going to listen, I identify with this band or this type of music, or I wear this sort of thing, or arts everywhere.
And yet with the arts, and it's so interesting, we're going to get into when and why it is that organizations bring you in, because particularly around drawing, right? Drawing, painting, coloring, whatever, that's something that really, once you've left school, and for some people even earlier, so if like me, you never took art at school, you kind of stopped drawing at like 12, 13 years old. You never draw again, or for some people, we literally never draw or paint. you know, and yet it is such a it's almost quite a primal thing, actually. So, you know, it totally makes sense in terms of why as a medium it really works for connecting to people. So just maybe talk to us about why it is that organizations bring you in, and then the sort of thing that you do in organizations.
Okay, well, there's very much linked to that play element that you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it is a very basic thing to pick up something and draw, make a mark. But I think when we're working with large organizations and corporate organizations, it's interesting. They will bring us in to help people play. And
Right.
that sounds quite a very basic thing, but it's not in the workplace. You don't really do it very often. And when you're playing, you're sort of reinventing and you're innovating, and then you're seeing things from a different point of view.
Yeah.
I hesitate to use out the box thinking, but that sort of idea. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll bring us in to do conferences and special events or team building or increasingly well-being. So well-being for ERG groups or employee networks, where it's like people, like there's been an expression that there's something is needed, but it needs to be a human experience. It's not
Right.
an app on a phone, or companies might provide you with a well-being app, right? And that's all. That's
Yeah.
well-being app, but there's also something about, you're working from home, you're not having those water cooler moments anymore, or those coffee moments, or those walking down the corridor chatting.
Yeah.
So the well-being is online. It connects people up and down the country, and not even the same country. And you're doing something together, and that the power of doing something together, that connected experience. And don't get me wrong, it's not highbrow. It doesn't have to be highbrow. There's no right or wrong in it. It can be as simple as appreciating that doodling's a good thing.
Yeah.
That headspace,
Yeah.
that headspace where it's just held for you. So
Yeah.
that's what we're doing.
Do you know what's really interesting though? When you said they're doodling, I suddenly thought to myself, I'm doing art, because I'm a big doodler. Like, I love to doodle. Always have done. I doodle 3D cubes, which somebody told me that it has a meaning or something, but hey ho. But yeah, it's really interesting. So you're going into organizations to help with things like well-being and play, and just, I guess, to get people almost like reconnecting with that human element of who they are, right?
Yes, I mean, I think that you talked about drawing, and it's all the fact that you can literally connect the dots, but doing it in a creative manner. We also help companies who are who have a social values, right? So they have to go out into the community and build that in the impact, and help them with that as well. But it's more about talking about this right this morning. Your ERG groups. It's more about connecting people and saying that it's a lot. Especially if you're taking on leadership. I know we were maybe going to talk about that, but it seems to have flown into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, employee networks, employee resource groups, the individuals, and this is part of the reason that we created the summit. Often the pressure that they're on in terms of like leading and supporting other people, etc., and the passion that they bring to that. I know that for some employee network leads, it sometimes feels like a battle. Sometimes they are literally, because they're advocating for their people, etc. So it's sometimes like a fight, almost like a fight that they're going in to do as well. There's enjoyment to it as well, but often it can feel like a battle. So actually, you bring in that element of play and kind of fun back into it, I'd imagine really helps to sort of put the passion back into it, right?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree that if you're an ERG leader, and it's going to be about something very personal to you, something you're passionate about, right? So it's already on top of work. It's already something which crosses between personal and work life, and
absolutely,
and it's very easy to get burnt out. And it's very much a case of like, we go in, we go, look, fit own oxygen mask first, please, because you need to safeguard your own well-being. And it's just simple everyday practices. So we preach everyday creativity, but everyday practices where you connect with yourself before you connect with somebody else.
Absolutely.
In the chat here.
Yeah, and Henna, Shaista, if you go over onto the ERG Leader Summit page that's here on LinkedIn, you'll probably see I had henna on all literally from my elbow down to my fingers. I'm a big henna fan, and there is something about, I mean, it's such a beautiful process when you sit and somebody's doing henna. And you know, whether you just sit and enjoy it or you sit and have a conversation. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of henna. Whenever I come back from holiday, assuming I've been east, I'm coming back with henna for sure. It's uplifting. It feels nice to see it on the hand. It can often remind you of certain things. Shais has also put, I feel now post-COVID, so many students are suffering from mental health challenges. Absolutely. I mean, there is something about, you know, if art and creativity could be brought into academic. Do you work with in academic organizations?
Yeah, we do. So what's been quite interesting is we often partner with an academic institution. We've partnered with Edinburgh University, for example, if that's where she's. It's because once we partner with research and advanced research, we can take that and it makes an even bigger impact. But yes, I totally hear you. Students, especially the international students, if you are, and you're right to point that out, with difficult geopolitical situations going on, it's stressful, and you're remote and you're taken away, and it's difficult to do your studies and to worry about situations that are going on wherever that is. So it is important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Sarah Longfield, good morning, Sarah. Sarah said, we all need more playfulness in both life and work. Isn't that the truth? Absolutely.
Well done.
And then, so I wanted to get specifically, so when you came to the summit, I just want to, honestly, the sessions that you did, Alex, definitely some of the highlights from the summit, and people are still talking about it now, as Andrea said. So one of the things that we wanted to do, so for those that aren't aware, so we had a summit earlier in the year for employee resource group leaders and DI leaders. And our brilliant event organizer, Tanique Hay, who was, you know, just amazing. She actually had done another conference that she'd been a part of, that they had reflection sessions. So, you know, maybe after there were a couple of speakers, whoever was hosting, you know, was sort of at the front saying, right, what did we learn from that session, etc. So we knew we wanted to do that. And then we connected because I think you'd seen me on a webinar, I want to say, with the Every Mind at Work guys. And then I was thinking about these reflection sessions, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we did them a little bit differently? And maybe, you know, and that's when I reached out to you and we had the conversation, and maybe just explain about those reflection sessions that you did for the ERG Summit.
Yeah, it's something we're seeing a lot more of, especially post-COVID. So ERG, any summit, any conference, there's a lot to take in, right? And it's normally something which you want to remember absolutely everything of, because you're there for a reason. You've taken a day out to listen to all this knowledge in the room. But not everybody processes it the same. And it's always important to think that maybe people need a space, just hold a safe space for people to do. So that's what we did. We came down to London. It was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. I came all the way down from Glasgow and I stood in silence for 5 minutes. Everybody reflected, which was an awkward thing to do. But really important. It was lovely to see. We asked people to doodle. We said doodle without a playful doodle, simple activities, but you have permission to play. And sometimes it's that permission, right? It's that you can now do this. And they were reflecting on the fantastic panel guests and maybe how that might reflect for them personally, or reflect for their organization or for their ERG group. And what came out of it, and it always happens, always without fail, there's always these wee nuggets of gold that come out of it, these alchemy moments where people, you can see light bulbs going on, and people going, oh, I'm connecting with myself and I'm realizing. And, you know, people say do creative journaling. You know, that's so hard. You need an in, right? You need a little prompt. You need someone to show you the way. So we did a few very short, simple creative cuppa, everyday creativity things, little nuggets, little snippets from what we would do for a 6-week wellbeing course with an organization, but just a takeaway so people can go and practice that and hopefully share it with other people. It was really good. I loved it.
It was incredible. It was incredible. You know, I know you sort of summarize it as five minutes of silence, but it was absolutely incredible and really powerful and quite emotional, you know, especially because we did 2 sessions, obviously. But the one, you know, quite emotional because it was really allowing people to tap into how they were feeling. And some of that would have been based on, what they were hearing on the day in terms of, you know, panelists or speakers and things that might have resonated from hearing somebody else's story. But some of it was people reconnecting with what's coming up for me, you know, what am I feeling in this moment? Do you know what I mean? So it was, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And I've been to a lot of conferences. Right? It was magical. Honestly, it was absolutely magical. I can't thank you enough. It was, I didn't really know what to expect, but it exceeded all expectations. Absolutely.
I think for her is the fact that people are thank you. That's wonderful feedback. It's lovely. And it's always so buoying for us as an organization when it happens. But when people sit in silence and they connect, but they know they're with other people who get it. I think that's the safe space as well. And otherwise you're sitting on your own at your organization.
Talk about that, the importance of, so obviously you often, you come in and you're working with teams often and sort of team. Talk to us about, I know you mentioned it before in terms of it being the alternative to stuff being online and all of that. Talk to us about your views around the importance of physically coming together as well. I know you can do this online as well, right? You've done it online, but talk to us about maybe the difference between when you do the work online, but then getting people together and doing it.
So for a conference, the actual physically, people have gone to the conference, for example, or they're in the team because they've either been told to go or it's something which they need to do, right? So they to go and gather information. But it's quite overwhelming. Being with a lot of people, especially now everybody works at home a lot more, it's quite overwhelming being amongst other people. So it's sometimes nice to have that space to go away and be quiet and reflect. However, that said, being in a room with somebody means that you have all your senses, right? So if we were in the same room right now, you would be, you know, you could smell my coffee, which is, you know, kicking in, which is good. You can smell, or you could understand mannerisms or smell perfume. All the senses are there, right? And it's really important that when people are in the same room, there's just a different energy, right? There's a different energy, and people can react and they respond. And that's what art is about. It's about responding to an environment. So whether that environment it's very possible to do it online and create a safe space. But when you're trying to make people connect on a different level, the in-person is so important because you're just got that energy, that spontaneity. There's no glitch. There's no, you know, and you can walk away and have a quiet moment over here. You can walk over there. You can react to what somebody's made or what they're saying in the moment. So yeah, but online in the same space, facilitated well, an online space is a really good way for people to connect and feel more comfortable and grow in creative confidence, which spills out into different confidence or just general. In a really lovely way before then maybe taking that into a space where they're a physical space.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you one of the things that I remember we talked about, and maybe we'll do this next year, but although I don't want to give too much away, but you sometimes with teams you create physical things, don't you? You know, so that there'll be some things that they maybe do on their own, but then you sometimes get teams to create physical things to co-create, right?
Yeah, so we a really good example of that would be, which is just fresh in my head, is last week we were down in Manchester with a construction company, and they brought people from all over the UK who don't normally get to see each other, and they were celebrating a milestone event of change, and people from different parts of the business were all on different tables and they didn't know each other. So instead of being little boxes, you know, on a Zoom screen or Teams screen, people were literally creating and having to figure out how to innovate and connect bits of junk. We did junk modeling, basically, but as a team. And they were taping that. How do we connect this? How would you do it? How can we sort it out? It was really lovely. And then they created plinths, which they decorated for another team. And then these are going to be exhibited in their meeting rooms.
Oh wow!
As a sort of like, we did this. It was, it was a really, really special. Some of them actually already met on one of our previous Wellbeing packages, but it was interesting to see them in the room interacting with each other, and everyone had a different take on it, but cooperation was needed.
Do you know what as well? I think the timing of that cooperation and getting people working on a physical thing, there's a brilliant, I'll drop the link in the comments afterwards if I remember, but there's a brilliant video that shows individuals working together on a physical thing. They're building a physical thing, and it's individuals that have very different views, so very polarized views. And then because they've worked on the thing together already, it's then easier for them to start talking and having the conversation respectfully, right? Which is to me is absolutely mind-blowing. If you think of where we are now, just coming off the back of the elections and all of that sort of thing, something like this, the power of getting together, physically working on something, or physically, getting your brain into a different space, can actually help with some of that, building bridges, right, in terms of team building and trust.
We literally constructed meaning and collaboration, and it was wonderful, because you're right, people were, because they've had a shared experience, it was an in for a different conversation, and there were some very different approaches, and that's all good and right, but it was the coming together to make that together was really, it was very inclusive, and also importantly playful, because it was quite, it was an abstract thing that they were given to me, and there was no right or wrong outcome. I think when you leave it nice and open-ended like that, no right or wrong outcome, then you've got a recipe for people just to like, oh, it's okay.
Absolutely. Shoulders down.
Doesn't have to look
shoulders down. For anybody that's watching this morning, I'm literally going to say to you, just have you got your shoulders up, which is something I said, just shoulders down, just breathe, shoulders down. But something you said there in terms of the play, kind of opening things up, etc. Anybody that's maybe got a team where maybe there's a little bit of disagreement or conflict, etc., I would definitely be considering something like this. How can you create an experience where people can just come into that experience with no judgment, can collaborate? I think you used the word collaborate, so they can cooperate. You said they can collaborate and cooperate. I'd imagine that will really help to kind of open up some of the conversations and I guess improve things like listening, to each other and to ourselves as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it works quite well when you merge two teams as well. You're coming from different ideas and you're coming together, and maybe two different cultures collide there. That's
teams and cultures that maybe don't work together, that aren't working together well or something.
Well, I think I always think of culture. It's the culture shaped by the worst behavior tolerated, right? Where there's not much room,
absolutely,
for tolerating bad behavior.
Let's talk a little bit, and I know we've probably touched on it, but just a little bit about, in terms of the impact on stress and well-being. One of the things that I headed up this post with was, I like to watch art programs. I used to love to watch. Let me not talk about the Sky program. I used to love to watch. Do you remember The Joy of Painting by Bob? Yeah. I used to love to watch that. I could watch it for hours. And the noises that he'd make, when he was doing the trees, it was just heavenly. So I find it very relaxing to watch. Is there anything about the psychology of like when we're doing art? What does it bring about? Does it bring about mindfulness? What is it that happens in terms of our physiology?
Yeah, it was massive. So very crudely, because I'm not a psychologist, but very crudely, your right-hand side of your brain is going to be the creative side, okay? It's the one that it's the dopamine hit, right? The left-hand side is the more logical and practical side. But actually more and more people are realizing that if you do something which say you're a knitter and you're always knitting, that's a creative activity and that's right brain. But your right brain is used to knitting because you know it, right? But increasingly, the bit that's most important is down the middle, right? So in the middle, the research is now saying that if I give you a creative challenge, but you weren't expecting it and you've never done it, or you haven't done it for a very long time, then you're going to activate the middle of your brain, which is the bit where proper, interesting connections between left and right happen. So if I said, if you're not a baker, and I said, could you just recreate this bake-off cake, please? And you're like, oh, crikey, I don't know how to do that. But you're going to activate the middle. And when you're activating the right and the middle, the left quietens down. So it's the critic, the brain that goes, no, you can't, you should, and you could, and you shouldn't, and you know, all these horrible words. The one that goes, no, you can't, that gets a little bit quiet. So it's interesting. If you are a doodler, for example, here's a little one you can take away very quickly. If you are a doodler, try doodling. And if you've got one of these smartwatches, that's great. If not, just recognize your body and your stress, your shoulders, your feet, tension in your body. Do a little scan. Doodle for a bit. And then just see where you're at. See how you're breathing, how you sit, how you hold yourself, or if your beats per minute have gone down, if you've got a fancy watch. And it's just about how you process. It's all about how you process. Doodling's you're processing information, and it's normal, and it's good and right and proper. And I love
that. Literally, as you were talking there, I felt myself like, okay, shoulders down, just relax, just breathe a little bit. So there's a little bit of a free mindfulness moment there from Alex. That was amazing. Right, Alex, this has been absolutely fantastic, and I hope that people have had like just a snippet, you know, kind of into what you do. But it's been absolutely fantastic. I feel like we could talk for way longer, but I want to just maybe leave people with a few tips around, you know, if they're watching this and they're maybe thinking about how you could help their organization, or anything that they could just do, you know, for themselves in terms of tapping into their creativity. What would you like to leave people with today?
Okay, for personal reasons, I think you need to, it's Friday, right? Or you put it in your diary, ring fence it. Because if it's ring fenced and then you will do something. And creativity doesn't mean drawing. I mean, we've talked a lot about that. It's whatever works for you. So it's gardening, or it's creating a playlist, whatever it is that you do. I'd love to leave you with that, ring fence it. And for organizations, we would go in and we would help with well-being, conferences, special events, team mergers, anything where you need to bring people together and they have to think a bit different.
Yeah, it's all about bringing people together. I love that. And then, you know, I think it was Shaisa that mentioned, you know, all of the geopolitical, you know, stresses and everything, you know, to have something like, you know, art and that creativity at this particular time, I think it's what the world needs a bit more of, right?
Well, it transcends things, doesn't it? It just, you know, it sees a different slant. Thank you so much. I feel like it's on the desert island discs of ERG. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's a lovely way to kind of almost like end or bookend the week and kind of start to roll into the weekend. So Alex, thank you so much for joining me. And for those that are wondering, yes, Alex hopefully will be back for the summit next year. Sarah's managed to sneak the final word in there. Absolutely is all about bringing people together. Sarah, you are absolutely right. And so we're going to end it there. Thank you all so much for listening live with us. I hope it's been really useful. I hope it's been quite calming for you as well, especially if you've had a stressful week. And if you're watching this on the replay, again, thank you for taking time out of your day. Alex, I will speak to you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.